As we open yet another link in our chain of stories, there's an enigmatic statement to be made. And that is, when we answer the question of what it is that's been present in our life all along, the movement, or summed up in the statement, for me at least, when it said, it was God all along. And when we're in that place and state, we're in the moments, everything is the same and nothing is the same. The stillness. We're in a place where we have the ending to every story. Everyone's story. Our story and everything's story. There's an old story that was told several times some long while ago that was never completed. Let's see what it evokes for us when this story is told again, bringing it to its completion. It's the story about that king. He had a vast and very prosperous kingdom. He had all those things that would make a man glad and happy and content in themselves. But he was not. There was something missing in his life that he could not fathom. He could not put his finger on, so to speak. So he gathered around him all the pundits from all the various persuasions to see if they could provide this missing link, so to speak, for him. But he realized that most of them were only there to give him platitudes, to flatter him, to further their own success and so forth. So he winnowed out all of those who he found to be so, and in the end there were only two groups, and they were the Confucianists and the Taoists. Now, he felt that this was a secret that had to be discovered or learned, and in his dealings with the Confucianists, he found that though they were traditionalists, they stuck by the rules, they followed the ways of history and ritual and the like, that they had about them some sense of knowing and wisdom. But as for the Taoists, he couldn't quite make them out because they were a motley crew. They seemed to only gather together to tell stories amongst themselves and drink a lot of wine, and never seeming to come to any kind of agreement at all. And yet the king realized that they knew, they did have a secret. Was it the thread of immortality? He couldn't quite make it out. So he asked them, and they replied, it cannot be told, our secret that is, it can only be shown. So the king devised a plan, a test, and from that test he would decide who would be his chief advisors. So, taking both groups down to a deep chamber in his palace, he had a curtain erected down the center of the room, and he put each group on either side and demanded that they create a mural on the wall that was facing them. and whoever created the greatest piece of a work of art would be designated his main advisors. So in fulfilling what their requirements were, the Confucianists demanded to be given every kind of color, paint and brush that could be found in the kingdom. And the Taoists merely asked for some very soft cloth and lots of wine. So they set about their tasks, and the king would come down from time to time to check what was going on. And when he did, he found the Confucianists hard at work. They would be looking at the ancient texts. They would be taking the colors of all kinds, and they were diligent in putting their brushes onto this wall. But when he went over to the Taoists, there they were. Now and again he'd see one of them polishing the wall with a soft cloth, and otherwise they would be chuckling together in the corner, opening another flask of wine. But the time came for these works of art to be displayed. So the king went down, and he went to the side of the Confucianists first, and he was amazed, because there on the wall was this exquisite piece of artwork, his kingdom depicted in every detail, even to the point of him sitting on his charger with the plumes on his helmet. His ladies, his wives, his concubines in the garden, a stream running through, birds in the trees and fishes in the stream, a work of art. And the king thought to himself, nothing could be better than this. Nothing could surpass the detail that's shown in this painting. And then he went over to the side of the Taoists, and there in front of him was a blank wall. No doubt a shiny wall, but blank nevertheless. And he suddenly became angry. What are you doing? Are you making a fool of me? And the Taoists were a little bit tiddly, but the leading Taoist amongst them stepped forth and said, "Why, no, Your Highness, this is merely revealing our secret. Pull aside the curtain." And when the curtain was removed, even though the king was looking at the beautiful mural of the Confucianists, he could not but be drawn to the opposite wall. And there, with the play of light that came through the rays of light coming into the room, the wall came alive. The plumes on the king's hat waved. The fish in the stream danced. The gowns of the wives and concubines fluttered around their ankles. It was fully and totally alive. The king turned again to the Taoists and said, "Is this your secret?" And the old Taoist replied, "Yes, we have practiced the Wu way, non-doing, we have created this space, and life and movement have filled it. The old Taoist then turned to the Confucianists, and he congratulated them on creating this work of art, but said, "You see, it is dead. It has no movement." For us, in opening up this space, life has entered and plays as it will. How is it that in this space, as has been said before, when the movement and the stillness come together, when that which has been present, permanent, unchanging in our life meets in every moment the stillness of being present, alert, aware, empty, life happens. In its happening, in that meeting place, is the beginning and end of every story. How is this story for you? How does it explain for us or bring an understanding of what happens to our life in every moment when that which is constant and unchanging, the God all along, meets the space made when everything is the same and nothing is the same. What is the end of every story? Perhaps this link, as we explore it, will allow us to experience it.